Good morning, folks. Let's begin with good news. Astronauts aboard the ISS lifted off safely and will continue the work to be done on board. However, they'll do it a bit short-handed as yet another resupply mission is having issues. Latest Antares rocket just delayed no less than 3 weeks. Randomly included story. Hungarian courts declare that website hosts are responsible for all comments made on their pages, even if they're moderated or actively censored. I wonder if that applies to YouTube comments. Time for an ice review. The North, the Arctic, is not much of a discussion. The melting is fairly significant, with the winter rebound ice gains as the lone thing on which it hangs its hat. The story down south is far more variable. Undisputed is the surface ice trend, breaking records almost every month, but that's just what's on the surface. We know from yesterday that the ice in the Ross Sea is increasing in general, but the entire planet heard about the doomy predictions from the West Antarctic ice sheet melting in unstoppable fashion. First, I had to read about 10 mainstream articles and then go back and check the British Antarctic Survey, NASA, and the actual findings. Folks, the claim is that this is a natural process caused by a complex oceanic current cycle, and the media outlets who are so used to blaming humans for everything just did it here too. The truth is that this natural process, which actually has the blame, runs on about a 35-year cycle, which makes the usefulness of the now famous cryosat readings questionable, and it appears this is a natural process that has happened in the past and which recovered very quickly. Anyway, Hurricane Amanda came. She saw, and indeed weakened as she heads north. Something of note, however, she was the strongest hurricane in the history of the month of May. Climate extremes. Coming down under, this is as simple as it looks over New Zealand, also with the south-central low drawing clouds from the northwest. Storms coming north from Africa, southeast from Russia and the north, and west from the Atlantic. Maybe my friends across the pond should just check their local forecasts. I'll be a bit more detailed with my home nation today because I don't like the official warning zones. First, the Gulf low is stronger than it looks. It dropped hail in a tornado last night, along with near-record flash flooding in isolated areas. Meanwhile, the second low to the north is pulling a strong eastern convergence to its southeast as well. A flood watch persists at the Gulf storm, but no severe warnings anywhere in the country, and I do think it would be very wise for you to actually watch the pop-up systems tonight, regardless of the lack of severe warnings, especially if you're in that strong northern flow bringing that southern heat up. We had a day of above-average tremors in unusual places, starting with the near 6-pointer in the Caribbean. Anything from high 4 range there is noteworthy. Coming in second place for the last 24 hours is New Zealand, and then south along the fault lines there. We're also monitoring the Indian Ocean and Scotia Sea as one tends to rumble after the Prince Edward Islands do. Lastly, folks, the area near Greece began an uptick at 6 o'clock a.m. UTC this morning and has not stopped. We'll certainly watch for a larger event there. There was a new moon yesterday. I always forget to mention these beforehand, but it does kick off a time of more interesting planetary geometry. In about 1 week, Mercury will heliocentrically conjoin Mars. Both would be only days away from heliocentrically conjoining Saturn, during which time Earth sits directly between Saturn and Venus over slightly to the right. After Saturn gets his fill, we'll round out the third week in June with Mercury geocentrically conjoining the Sun. Should be fun. Over the past 3 days, we're seeing slightly increased cosmic ray density. The solar flaring remains very weak, low B range with peaks into C only, and the sunspots remain small and low in number. No flaring expected. Solar wind delivers our top space weather story today. Calming telemetry over the last 24 hours was awakened with a jolt in just the last few. Sensitive meters only starting to pick it up, and this will be what I watch throughout the morning. Not used to seeing an Earth connected to our star at the south like that, and with the current coronal hole slice exiting now, extra attention is drawn to the incoming coronal hole, as it's clearly tied to the southern opening housing our connection to the star. The extension appears weak, but the southern opening is strong in general. She's only another day or two away. Current conditions and shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear at 6:35 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.